Hi everyone. Well, I will be presenting the board model that was chosen. So if you guys, for those who are having any questions or it's not clear, this will be a quick presentation. And then after this, we can move on with the agenda. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comments for, the things that are still not clear. And first, we would like to start with a quote by Elena Blavatsky, which says, "The future of Theosophical Society will depend almost entirely upon the degree of selflessness, earnestness, devotion, and last but not least, on the amount of knowledge and wisdom possessed by those members on who it will fall to carry on the work and to direct the society." So there are three objectives that the board will be focusing on, and these are things that we already agree on. The first one will be to strengthen the sense of global community, collaboration, and practical brotherhood among young Theosophists. Next one will be to support its mother institution, the Theosophical Society based on Adyar, in the accomplishment of its mission and objectives, which are as follows: to serve humanity by cultivating an ever-deepening understanding and realization of the angels of wisdom, spiritual self-transformation, and the unity of all life. And lastly, will be to prepare young Theosophists to act as workers for the Theosophical movement. So there are 5 relationships, or this is a relationship that we will see in how it works. First, we have the Theosophical Society, which is our main institution, and it goes down to the members of the World Federation of Young Theosophists, and then it goes down to the board members, then the representatives, the volunteers, and throughout those, we will accomplish whatever goals we put in place through the institution. So the system will look something like this. First, there is a need of building the community, or the first objective will be to build a sense of community, whatever that means for the young Theosophists. It's also to support the projects and to prepare the youth. And so we have the relationship in which the board members are all in one group, but they all have different tasks or a different set of skills that will be useful to accomplish those goals. So let's say that, and it doesn't need to be separate from each other, because whatever goals or whatever, if someone needs support, or if someone needs any project always is composed of a lot of different parts, and it needs different approaches. So that is where the board members come in with a different set of skills, with the different goals to be accomplished for that one goal. Then they will have the support of the representatives, which again, those representatives will be within one, under one board member, because those skills align with whatever board member A, let's say that board member A is an artist, or it's in communication. So Representative A or Representatives A will be under that category if they identify with those skills. Writing, another one. Board member B, maybe Representatives B will be more inclined to that. So there is a variety of skills where all young Theosophists or those who want to participate can be involved with, and then they can practice their skills. Volunteers are also welcome and will be helping the board and representatives. And again, that will be whatever we set to be. And I think there was a confusion where we said that the board members, they were gonna be interchanging the roles, but it's actually the volunteers, because at this level, it's easier to change the roles, to explore and not to have a big impact, and rather than doing it at this level. So right here, the volunteers will be able to experience different approaches that are needed to be for the institution to work as a unit. And so right here, volunteers will be, maybe we can set this later, but 3 months, they can be within section A, or they can also change to section B if they feel that their skills are better used here or in C. And then that way they can learn how to be or how to manage this type of roles. And also they will be encouraged to be positioned or to want to participate at another level, right? And sometimes some of those volunteers might not have the time that it's needed to put into the to put in the work that it's needed to. So this gives everyone an opportunity based on whatever skills they have, time, or any other issue that they might have, or to be able to be in any of these 3 levels. Again, those volunteers will be members of the society, and throughout this group of elements, throughout these elements, we'll be able to accomplish different goals, but also working together, working towards the same purpose. The board members have a collective leadership. They focus on tasks and duties rather than position. They promote teamwork within the board, representatives and volunteers and general members. They have strategic and organizational planning. They will help fundraise and resource development, know and understand the organization's mission, programs, and needs. They will follow the organization's bylaws, policies, and board resolutions. And these are some of the tentative roles that they were mentioned when we were doing the presentation for the board. Education officer, executive officer, communication officer, membership, and so on. And we don't have to go with this specific roles, but it gives us a chance to think about what are the different elements that are needed for the board to be functional. And it doesn't have to be 7 or 6. We can also change the number that is to be discussed, but it gives us a good understanding of all the things that are needed within the organization and what is to be accomplished and how it will work. So basically in the Constitution, we should describe this a little bit deeper and also use understand or try to figure out what will be the specific duties of each position. And after this is done, after we are able to make this a little bit more concrete, then we can go on with what is the purpose of the representatives, what is the work that they will be doing based on whatever section they are, and also what is the work of the volunteers based on whatever section they are. So this will be the first thing that will need to be addressed. Who can be part of the board? This is also to be discussed, but we said that a member, this is what we propose. A member may be a candidate for a place in the board of direction as long as he is a member of good standing with the Theosophical Society. Again, still very vague. We need to clarify a little bit more. We need to make it more specific. A member may file candidacy by personal application, by being nominated by another member, or by being nominated by their section. Members below the age of whatever age we decide will be given priority when applying for candidacy. And this is like an exception that we added to in case there are no members younger than. So if there is any section that has no members below the age of, again, whatever X, who will wish to run for candidacy, then the section might nominate a member older than X if they see the members as being fit for leadership position within the Young Theosophists, the Young Federation. Okay. Next, the representatives. Each section will designate one representative. Again, the number here can be, it can be discussed. It doesn't have to be one, but this is what it was, what's suggested. The representative is responsible for assessing the needs of the respective youth groups. They are also responsible for reporting events and activities to the board and the officers of the Parent Theosophical Society. The representative will work with the board in helping to meet the specific needs of the representative youth groups. And lastly, the representative is the link between the specific youth group and the board of directors. And again, this is used very broad. We need to make it more specific and what are the roles, how they can incorporate, how can they incorporate or align their needs, how can we help with those needs. And the volunteers, we still have to discuss all of like the roles and what is the role of the volunteers. But basically work in collaboration with representatives and the board members to provide support and support with projects, learn from representatives and the board members. Sorry, again, volunteers, volunteering will be one of the best and easiest thing to do, and it will provide young Theosophists with the opportunity to get involved, and if they don't feel that they want to get more involved and to be in the board or to be in the as a representative, but this is a good chance for everyone to be involved and experience a little bit of what is to be part of the society, and it will integrate or it will make a sense of community a little bit deeper. And we see that throughout this model with board members, representatives, and volunteers will help and will collaborate with each other to make, to accomplish the goals that are needed. Okay, so this is the end of the presentation. And if anyone has any questions, now will be a good time.
I'm a little confused about the difference between the board and the representatives. Are the representatives based on physical location? Is that right? And then the board is just the elected governance. Is that the difference? Okay. So if a location doesn't have any young Theosophists, is the idea to elect who's ever there to be a representative, or just to kind of leave that vacant until we get young Theosophists in that location?
We didn't decide that, but I feel like, in my opinion, it will be a good idea for the members to represent maybe themselves and maybe to be encouraged to form groups or to look for more people within that area. But it's to be decided, whatever we agree on, and
okay.
Maybe the board can find a good solution for that too.
So I have a few questions as well. So I just wanted to check on some ideas that were presented earlier. There was an idea early that the board members could be the maximum one per country. So is it something that you think we should maintain? So we could not have two board members of the same country.
I don't. Well, in my opinion, this could be debatable. This is debatable. It's that the board is the structure, right? Like, so the structure, it's there. So the other details that I feel like we can discuss about it, I might have a different opinion. In my opinion, I will say it depends on how many roles they are, and I will say that it doesn't. It will be mainly on how many roles we decide to be incorporated within the board and how many people we get from different areas. They might be more people from one area or not, but I think Catalina and other people agree that one is good, one per country.
But of course, all these questions that you are bringing will be part of we are going, now we will begin the process of making the constitution, no? So there will be where we are going to really get a definitive answer to all these questions when we in common do the job of making the constitution.
Yeah, my questions are more like things that are like to know what you think so we can discuss and go somewhere. Yeah, it's not. But I also had I was a bit confused about the role of the representatives because when Jocelyn began to explain, I felt that they were kind of secretaries to the board member that they are designated. So I felt like some kind of the leader of the let's say the art section. So there's the board member is the leader of the art section, and then there is a representative that works for him or her, and then there are the volunteers below in some kind of a hierarchical sort of structure. But then later there was this idea that the representatives are, of course, chosen one or two for each country, so they kind of represent a wide variety of countries. And in that sense, I had this feeling that they kind of have a double sort of role. So they do represent the country, and they are kind of responsible for making this connection between the youth of the country and the federation. But at the same time, they kind of have a specific role in the main sort of section. So is that what you thought, that the representatives kind of would have a kind of a double function, sort of?
Yes, that is correct.
And did you understand? Did you plan this as some kind of, as I said, like a hierarchy? So let's say the board member is, let's say, the manager of the specific part of the federation, and then there is a representative that's below him or her, and then the volunteers are below him or her? Or do you think that these group of people, the representatives and the volunteers, they would be more like a horizontal team without hierarchy? Because I remember that was one of the kind of hot topics, the point of hierarchy.
So the board is meant to not give them power to, or them the whole weight of the association to one person. It's meant to be distributed between 7 or 8, whatever amount of people, and within those people, they have their own. It's horizontal within their own group. But it is true that for the board members, they do have a higher responsibility, and they will be the ones that will be doing more of the leadership. And then the representatives also have a horizontal collaboration, I guess. And then against the volunteers, but there is a need not maybe for a hierarchy, but there is a need for leadership and direction.
Yeah, and also something else that I guess Matthias Raiza. Oh no, Matthias Raiza. You want to you want to say something? Or, okay, we have also discussed in previous opportunities that the representatives also have, like, let's say someone of the board is not fulfilling the duty, so the representatives also, by if they see that it's not happening the way it should happen, they have the, let's say, power, or I don't know, there must be another word, better word, but I don't know it, to remove the or propose the removal of that person that is not fulfilling the duty. So in that sense, they are all not only working together, but also like making like, how do you say, vigilant together. How do you say that? Checking
balances,
together. Yeah. Supervisando. I don't know how to say that in English.
They're all interchangeable and supervising and working together.
Supervising. Thank you, Jocelyn. That was the
Um,
word that I was searching for.
I think before we represented it as a circle. So at the center is the board. They're the working committee. And then they work with the representatives. The representatives would be the ones to assess the needs and the tasks that are needed for those other members that are on the outer part of the circle. So there's still a structure. There's still a structure, but it's more flexible because it's more of a circle rather than a straight hierarchy.
Well, and yeah, and then again, there is always a need for some leadership, for some guidance, and so
Yes.
the it might be difficult for a volunteer or for a member um, to go and speak directly to a representative or to the board member if they don't know them. So that gives the flexibility for them to interact with each other, with volunteers, with representatives, and to address those things to the board instead of just not having a voice, if that makes any sense. And also when doing things, right? Like when doing a project, there is always, I think this was a thought process that there might be a project that I need to do, that I need to get done, then let's, just being very honest, those things are very time consuming. Sometimes some people might have some skills and some people might not have those skills. We might need help developing a web page, or, like any of whatever things that are going to come up. And so we want to have basically that division of like what people might have strong skills in this area or soft skills in this area, and how can they collaborate and participate within that.
Okay, it's more like seeing the working process as a unit, and so there is not such a hierarchy in this process of making, of decision making. But then yes, it has to be a structure there, no? So just it's pretty different from.
And then again, everyone is under the Theosophical Society, and that's why we have the TS, then the World Federation, meaning the members, and then the board. So it will look kind of like this. Let's say that we are, because we are the World Federation, this is us right now, and then we're gonna select, let's say, 3 people. Rafael, Matia, and Sed. They're gonna be the board members. Well, guys, here are our needs. These are the things that we need. We need to create the constitution. And so let's say that one person, it's a really good writer. The other person, it's really good with presentations. The other person is really good with communication. I don't know, whatever the case is, then you three are gonna go and be like, okay, I need help because this might take too long for me for the amount of time that we have, or so hey, Catalina is also a good writer, so I'm gonna take her into my team, and Catalina might need help with a couple of things, and okay, I'm gonna take Miriam as my volunteer, and so in that way we're all working together towards one purpose. I don't know if that makes sense. And it's more task oriented than I don't know. Is that more clear? Well, did that example, what was that helpful?
That's helpful for me. It's more clear.
Okay.
Well, Zoom creates some kind of order of who raised the hand first, so perhaps we could follow.
Yes.
Okay, so Mattia now lowered the hand.
Well, I have a couple of questions. The first one, Jocelyn, you mentioned that the change of roles would be happening between the level of volunteers instead of the board members. But I had or maybe I didn't understood right. But originally I thought that the board members were the ones that would be interchanging the roles, or that maybe you changed.
That was way at the beginning, and then the structure change. We realized that wasn't gonna be functional, and I think we have a couple of discussions about how and why it was not gonna really work, because we were trying deciding in the amount of time, right? Like, so let's say if it's a year, it will just not be very functional. So we want the board members to have a good focus on whatever the area that they are in, and then the volunteers will have more of the flexibility of interchanging the areas.
Okay, right.
And experiencing a little bit more of, what is it that this area does, what is it that this other area does, and if I want to apply later on, I realize that I like communications, right? So I'm going to apply to be a representative or a board member of this area.
Okay, yeah. And then the other thing, I think Catalina mentioned earlier, the possibility, because the function of the representatives is somehow, because it seems that they have a double function, which I didn't understand earlier. And so, but it seems that if it's possible for the representatives to remove a board member, it seems somehow that on one hand, they have been elected in a direct mode, but then indirect, and then there is a possibility to remove them without having, it would seem like it's a hybrid mode between the previous or the mode that would be with indirect voting and the one with direct voting. So I don't. Well, maybe that's the way that we want this to be, but it seems contradictory in a way.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Do you mind?
Yeah. So the board team, the way it functions, and it will be elected with direct voting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but then if it is possible to, if there is a problem with any board member that needs to be removed, who will be deciding that? The representatives.
So, I guess this is something that we can also discuss, but let's say that there is a problem with Sid. He causes a lot of issues. He doesn't do the work. He says he's gonna do it, but he doesn't. He always does. So let's say we're having a problem with said. So I think we can all come together and he's part of the board, right? And I'm a representative or I'm a volunteer, and I could be like, well, like I noticed that there is a problem with said, so I'm gonna communicate this through with with the representatives, with the board. And so I think there is a need to be that open communication. And once someone is already sending an email, when someone is already addressing something, then there is a need to look into that issue. And then, okay, maybe we can have a discussion about it within the board and see what the issue is and how to go about it. And we can say, hey, Ted, thank you very much, but we can all come into that agreement, whoever wants to be part of that, and we can create that structure of saying, let's give him another chance, or I'm sorry, we tried, but it didn't work, so we're just gonna remove you. We're gonna,
I think there should be like a step. A part of the constitution should be the standard process for removing
Yeah.
a board member. So there should be predefined parameters when a person should be removed, when they should be given a warning, when they should be given a sanction. And then we should also clearly define, it's still up for discussion because the constitution is yet to be written, but we have to also preset how we're supposed to raise an issue. If we have an issue with a board member, do they send an email? Do they talk to a specific officer? And if the officer they are supposed to talk to is the one they're going to have problems with, there should be another person they should be able to talk to. So that's a standard process that we also have to create and we have to decide on.
yeah.
Yes, and remember that one thing is a voting process, and another thing is discharging someone. I mean, in extremis, we can, totally remove or discharge someone. But until that point, there are many various ways, in order to do something. So they are two different things. I think there's no what did you say? No
Contradiction.
contradiction at all.
Yeah, and I mean, what the board model right now is just the structure of how the different parts will work, but all the other details are meant to be discussed, are meant to be think about what, because this was only thought about like for a couple of us, and I think it's better when there is more people thinking about the same thing and how the many different ways that can function or not function. And so I think this is where after this meeting we can go and think about the processes of how it might be, how can we address this issue and how can this work. But it is important to understand the structure first.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
I have a few questions. But I just wanted to comment that I find what Sarah said very important. I don't think it's a problem, but I think it's something to really think about, because we cannot plan the federation based only on the group that we have today, because the group that we have today is fairly small and very friendly, and I don't know, things are going very smoothly, but we have to think long term and think that perhaps at some point we are going to have some kind of power struggle. And I think the system has to be designed in a way that it's intelligent to prevent unfair dispute. And I think that point is very relevant to think about. But I have a few questions. Oh, the first thing is that there are some details that were undefined in previous versions of the Constitution. And I don't know whether you have a new kind of proposal about that, or is a point that we are going to leave for the future steps, that are first, how the representatives are chosen, whether by the youth or by the general secretaries. The other thing is, what's the age limit for the positions? And third, what is how long is a mandate of a board member? So that's the first question. Do we have a proposal of these details, or is something that we're going to discuss
3
later?
years, 1 year.
May
This
I?
is all part of the
Um,
constitution.
Can I suggest something? Maybe one of the things we can do as a starting point is to gather the different areas or the different points that we need to decide on. And then once we have a list, we can also then create a list of possible items that could answer that question. Like, for example, how long is the term? And then we can have like one would be 2 years, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. And then maybe we can have an election, just one Google form, and then have the details like if we still want to follow the same democratic process that we followed for the structure, we can do that. We can like gather all of the different points that we need to decide upon, and then we can like create a list and the possible answers for these lists, and then we can add a section probably at the bottom if they have additional comments or suggestions, and then we can like create another voting period, and then once whatever the results of that voting happens, then we can write or we can draft a constitution based on that. That's just my suggestion.
Okay, so it's basically something to discuss later. It's not for now, right?
Yeah, no, it's not for now.
Yeah.
And yeah, and again,
age
right, like
limit
all
must be discussed.
the points of the constitution of the board model are meant to be discussed, are meant to be voted on. So yeah, and we can decide how we do that in this meeting.
Okay.
I think in the agenda we had also that the age limit is the very key factor, because whatever we are going to do in the future, for this meeting, it was thought that it's better at least we arrive at some age, so that for all the future activities, that is no more any doubt. There is no more any doubt who can vote, who cannot vote, or who is eligible or not. So one thing, if we decide in this meeting today, then for all the other things we can do. Maybe that's my thinking.
Okay. So,
Also, based on what Christopher just said, maybe we can also agree that would that be a nice way to do it, is to tally up all the different questions we have about different aspects and make a voting sheet. That'd be a nice way to figure out all the different ways that we could develop this.
Yeah, I agree. I like that.
yeah. Yeah, because I had 3 other questions, and one of them was precisely what's the next step.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point. And in my opinion, it would be good to have choosing someone or a group to write a first draft of the constitution, even if it allows further discussion. But it would be good to have a whole constitution written, even if it's a draft. That would be my suggestion. The other thing that I would like to comment is whether we have an idea of how we are going to work until we do have the board, because something that appeared in the group some time ago is that perhaps we could sort of simulate what we wanted for the constitution now in the movement prior to actually having the federation. So we could kind of test and experiment and see how it works. So are we doing something in that direction?
Rafael?
Yeah.
Pardon, sorry. May I?
No, Mattia, please.
Thank you. So there is one thing that I really want to stress, that you don't have to think people that for the moment weren't in the board group. You don't have to think that we are the board group and you are not the board group. So now that the board group has been chosen as a model, we all are a part of the board group. We may have some clear ideas, yes, but we all are part of the board group. So it's not like we don't have to answer questions. I mean, we are not here for answering questions. We are here to, we as a board group, work it together, work it out together. So these questions are fundamental, but we need to work them out together, not like we are answering questions because we don't have the final product. Okay, so the outcome,
Yeah, that's a good
a
point.
common outcome. So I really wanted to stress it because it was not clear in the group as well. And another thing really important that we have to discuss is the participants who take the responsibility to be present at the meetings are the participants who want to go on with the project. Because yes, we are now a very small group, but will this small group go on, or other people are gonna join us? So this is another point. Who's gonna proceeding with is going to proceed with the work? So, but let's discuss it as a group and not as someone who answer others' questions, because this is not the way, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm asking questions and everybody's answering, isn't it? It's just that we had this idea that perhaps the group that proposed the model that won could kind of shine some light in terms of direction. But I don't think it's everything is the board group now. I agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go
Uh,
ahead, Shikar.
No, yes, actually, I think I seem to understand Raphael's place and Matthias' place both, because yes, there may be many questions, but Matthias also is saying, because we don't have many answers because all the fine points will be discussed. So if we only stick to the agenda of this meeting, the agenda of this meeting that we discussed was to come up with the age limit and to have a volunteers sign up sheet who will work on the constitution draft. So as he is saying, some dedicated volunteers who will be present in all the meetings and not once in a while. So they come together, and as I agree with Raphael on this, that if we have a draft, it's much easier to make amendments in that here and there, and those things, finer points, can be always added by discussion. So if we get that out of this meeting, I think rest all the questions and doubts and how will it work can be taken care of later.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, so I agree with Mattia that we have to look at ourselves no longer as the board group and then the other models, and we're all just one team right now. And I also would like to agree with Rafael, because we also need the question and answer format, because we need to clarify certain points, and there's still a lot of points that we need to clarify. So I guess my suggestion would be that if, for example, in the WhatsApp group, I'm not very active in the WhatsApp group, but for example, if there are questions in the WhatsApp group and then these things are still in a gray area, we're not yet decided, maybe we can take note of those questions, and then we can tell the persons who are asking that we can raise this up and discuss on the next meeting, and then we'll get back to them. If they are able to attend, then that's fine. If they're not able to attend, then we'll get back to them with answers after we discuss what our next steps would be. But I think it's very important also to take note of the questions that some of the people might raise during in WhatsApp, because some of them may actually be valid questions and they may be points that we need to clarify. And we just need a little time for us to be able to discuss it within the group for now, until the board member or the board members have been elected. So those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, and I think that it's at this point it's not viable to work with within the board structure, because it's very there are points that are not defined, the goals or the tasks. They might be creating the constitution, but we're not, there are different parts that I guess they're all, how can I say it? Like it needs of all our collaboration, if that makes any sense. How all of this it's been doing. We did the board group, and some people have some ideas, and we got together, we talk about it, we wrote down things. One person was like, okay, like, let me write this down, and we continued to do meetings until we created what we thought it was the best possible outcome for the board. And I think that is a way that we can continue doing it now within a bigger group outside, group C. I think that it's important for all of us to express what we think, what we agree on or not, because that way we'll get to a good outcome. And the board right now, the structure, it's not viable, and I think we're all at this point we're just volunteers.
Okay, and I think the last question that I had from this group, I suppose before we get to know the volunteers, is about the idea, because there wasn't a very strong idea that I really disliked. But anyway, there was a very strong idea in the original Model C, and it was not present in Jocelyn's presentation today. And I was wondering whether you thought it would be better not to have it, or it's still an idea. That is the idea that the whole federation would work based on consensus. So it would have no voting and no hierarchical decisions, but everything would be based on consensus. So if there is no consensus yet, the solution would be to discuss more. That's something that was present earlier, and I would like to ask whether you still want it. That was my main problem with the Model C, I have to admit, but anyway.
Yeah, there is a problem with the consensus, actually. I mean, it's something we really need to study deeply. But we can find a way, because it's tricky. Of course, it's tricky, and sometimes it may be tricky, yes, it may be tricky. But we can find a solution that is a midway between a consensus and a sort of like deadline or something like that. Yeah. Yes.
If I remember clearly, the way that we came up with this consensus thing idea, it was because I personally like the voting. I like to vote for everything. I like what Sid does. It's just like, okay, let's vote, and I'm like, okay, like let's do it. But we came to that where if someone doesn't agree with something, let's say that 20% of the people who didn't agree with a solution are at discontent with what the results are. So like, let's say, for example, right now someone doesn't agree with the war model for XY reason, then the proposal was to maybe then those 20% of the people can create a can present to the group what are the issues that they see within the model, what is their concern. So come out with a presentation, or come out with like, hey, this is what I have, this is what we don't like about it, and can we discuss this? Can we, are there changes? Can we change these things within this thing? So these are our concerns, because obviously if we don't like something, it's because we have a concern about something, some parts of it. So the initial idea is like, okay, this group, Catalina, Sid, and Rafael don't like this. So they're gonna come out with all of the different reasons why this is not a good option, and they're gonna present it to the group, and then it can be discussed.
Would be also a good idea to separate like main decisions, and maybe this has to be voted, and other decisions who could be more easily to reach an consensus.
Yes. Actually, I was gonna suggest the same thing. I agree with Rafael that if everything will be voted upon by consensus, that will take a very very long time and it would be very impractical. So I agree with Miriam. I think that we also need to define in the constitution what are some of the decisions that the board can decide on their own, that they can vote among themselves. So if 8 of them vote, then it's already a go. If 8 of them vote not to, then they won't. But there are also some decisions, probably some bigger decisions that would require votes from the representatives, and then there would also be votes that would require the greater number of population. I think we also need to define that because obviously the choice of the board members is has to be done by election from for this structure. So that's a decision that has to be made. But there are certain things that the board should be able to do without having to consult everyone within the federation, right? So maybe that's also something we need to discuss. It's something that we also need to define in the constitution.
Anyway, if we do abandon the idea of consensus, I would be very happy. I always hated that idea. I just wanted to say. Anyway, that were all my questions. Thank you.
So based on everything that I've heard thus far, so at some point before the end of this meeting, we're gonna start a list of volunteers who want to make the Constitution. And then I do think that maybe either in WhatsApp, yeah, I guess in WhatsApp, if Raphael, you could keep your questions. If other people have undefined questions about this, maybe we could start making a list in WhatsApp so that maybe we can move that into discussion and or vote later. So then we don't have to keep going through the undefined questions right now. And then before this is over, Shikar had mentioned that we should at least pin down the age limit. I think that's a good idea between us. If we can just decide that right now, I think that's possible. And yeah.
I have just a small question related. Okay, the idea is to decide the volunteers, but also will be only among us, or we will give. I mean, maybe some people were not able to be here, and they would like to be volunteers. So, shall we decide like a first part list of volunteers? Maybe then keep it open for a couple of, I don't know, the time that we considered for. Let's see if other people want to join.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is just the first. If people in here want to do it, they can sign up, and then you can also ask everyone else. And yeah, it's not limited to us.
So basically, the goal of that group of volunteers will be the making of the first draft of the Constitution, taking into consideration all these issues that have been raised today during the meeting. No? So those points and maybe whatever will be raised before after the meeting. No? That will be like just make clear. Is that okay?
I just wanted to remember that in the agenda there is already a list of items that are probably at least these are the most obvious ones that need to be addressed and to be voted or discussed or whatever. So yeah, I don't know if maybe we could jump first on those items, and maybe because discussion may be big enough just to go into writing this draft and have multiple options. I don't know, maybe it gets big. I don't know.
Well,
could someone state those items?
I can share
Okay.
the screen if you want.
You can-
But
yeah, maybe you can share the screen.
I just wanted to make a suggestion that instead of going through all these various questions now, what I would suggest is that we have group of volunteers as to write the first draft, and then this group of volunteers decide every detail of the Constitution and present to the whole group, and then we check whether there are any points that someone believes that should be different, and if there is some kind of, let's say, opposition, let's say someone defending that something should be different, then only these specific points that cause disagreement should come to a further discussion and eventually perhaps even a voting, because we do not really have, in my opinion, legitimacy to take decisions now in this meeting, in the sense of, oh, we have to decide the age limit now. I don't think you know, we have the legitimacy to take this decision like this. I think we should write down the Constitution, allow everyone to read and to raise topics, and then consider it to be a legitimate decision. That's my opinion.
That should
I
save us a
like
lot of
that.
time.
Yeah, that saves a lot of legwork. And
Yeah.
But also at a certain point, okay, at a certain point, we need to understand whether, I mean, and who above all is going to take the responsibility or not, because we can participate to, sorry, we can participate to meetings and then be absent for a month. So this is not responsibility apart from all the other stuff we have to do, of course, doing our life. Yeah, so this is true what you said, Rafael, but at the same time, now or later we have to decide that whether people who are participating to a meeting have the legitimacy to decide something, because otherwise it's always you know
I don't think they have the legitimacy in a meeting unless that's previously said, you know, there's a meeting and we are going to have critical decisions there only to people who are present. I think in that specific case, but we have to tell people in advance that we are doing this, in my opinion.
We did it in a way. We said this meeting was set for deciding some very fundamental points. So, I mean, in a way, you know, the people who are here took the responsibility to be here. I think like this. People may disagree, but at a certain point, we cannot. It's very bad to say, but we cannot rely on people who don't take the responsibility. I'm sorry, but you know, especially when we have set a scheme that is not based on hierarchy or a voting process, a rigid voting process. So we need to take the responsibility if we want to proceed with this work. Otherwise, you know, everyone makes his or her choices. But yeah.
Okay, regarding the age, I have always had like a feeling that in some way, at least part of that have already been decided, because all this process of votation of the models was done based on 40 years maximum. So I don't know if changing that age for decisions related to constitution will be, maybe I'm wrong, so please you correct me, will be an invalidation of previous decisions that have been taken. And maybe what we have to decide only will be the age of a person that can be elected or that can be nominated as a candidate. That could be done in the constitution itself. I don't know. I have that doubt. Maybe I am complicating very much the things, or maybe I'm not able to understand that limit, because we have already made an entire voting process of a model based on 40 limit. So my feeling is that in some way that has already been decided, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I want to
I
hear
think
what you.
that's why I brought up maybe we could just decide that 40 remains the age and we can just never have to address that topic again, because it's what we've been doing thus far. Also, I think it's important that we maybe decide a number of people who are going to work on the Constitution, because you don't want to have 15 people write one Constitution. I think it might be too many people. So I don't know. Do you guys have an idea of how many people should be writing the Constitution max? Or do you think it doesn't matter? There could be 20. I think maybe only 5 people need to do that.
I think 3 to 5 maximum will be the ideal.
Yeah, the smaller the better, I think, because afterwards it will be shown to everyone, and we will be able to make any changes. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The smaller the better, because the information might be fragmented if there's too many people writing it, and the formats may not be the same. So there will be a great deal of communication needed if it's a large group. How many sections so far have we identified that we need to define in the constitution, just so that we have an idea? Maybe we can divide it, we can assign the sections to people, like 3 sections to one person or something like that.
In the agenda, I listed at least 10 items. That way they can be more.
It's not that many, I guess.
I will always be defending the age limit. And I guess one of my issues was that the age limit was only voted within a small group of us, and not really the entire group was able to have a voice on it. So meaning the youth or the people who are in the youth, they didn't have a vote. And to my understanding, this was done as provisional because we needed to keep moving with doing, the voting and the whole process. And so for me, I feel like it was important that the whole youth, or that it was put out there for whoever wanted to vote, and to be more of now the people who are, like, let's say we agree to the age of 40, then they can vote if that is the age that they want to keep, or if they want to do it below 40 or above 40. So that was my thought process in that. Because I will always do about 40. And again, also, that's something that we had a couple of issues with a couple of people that felt excluded and left the group. And I didn't necessarily like that. And I feel like there was a need for other people to have a voice on it.
Well, my opinion about this whole thing is that I agree with Catalina. I think we decided on up to 40, but that was only to people who would vote in the process of the movement. And I have to remember that nobody had their voice excluded. So we still have people older than 40 who are participating, as well as we have people who are not members of the TS but are participating. So we are welcoming every voice to come and have a say and participate. I think that that specific decision was only when it comes to voting in the movement. And I think we should remain with that decision, in my opinion. And when it comes to the age limit of the federation, I think the people who are going to be responsible for writing the first draft, they will define that a first draft. So let's say to be a board member, there's an age limit. To be a representative, there's a different age limit. They will make an initial proposal of how age limit would work in the federation. And then obviously, you know, other people could disagree and we could discuss, but I think they would be the ones who would think and make an initial proposal on that and present to the whole group. That's my view on that.
I think the simplest and most effective is if we have one very enthusiastic person that wants to write the whole thing and then send it to a few people, they critique it, fix anything, and then maybe they send it to a few more people. Definitely not me, but if anybody else wants to write it themselves, I think that would be the most effective. So we don't, you know, write.
Okay, maybe it doesn't have to be one or maybe two. Yeah. So what you mean is two people will sit and write the entire constitution that they will show to a bigger group of volunteers that will do some critiques, corrections, etc. And then we will, that group, what comes after that discussion will be put to vote, to be vote for everyone? Is that the step by step?
I would like to volunteer. I would like to volunteer to be one of these initial critical readers. So one of these people who take the first draft and help to make it more mature and before it's presented to the whole group.
Yeah, I would too.
Me too.
Hopefully there's someone who wants to write it. That would be awesome. That's a lot of work though.
Can we propose people to write? Because I will propose. I guess by the changes that she has made, Sarah has a very clear vision of what are the things. So I will propose maybe her, and if maybe she wants to propose a person to work with, so she doesn't have to do alone. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I would do it. I would be happy to do that. If anyone wants to do it, help me. It's okay. If not, it's okay too. Yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah, I'm happy to have Sarah do it. So.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe the rest of us can be volunteers for Okay, I don't know. May I propose someone to help Sarah? That I don't know if he will accept, but I would like. I don't know if Chris maybe can be available.
Actually, I would like to.
Or do you want to be approved?
Actually, I would like to, but because I wrote the manual for the Philippine section, for the youth section of the
I was remembering that.
But yeah, I'm looking at my calendar like for the third time now. It's fully booked, so I'm willing to do that. But you have to give me like time to be able to write it. So would what date would you have in mind to have the first draft?
Yeah, or Christopher, would you be one of the critical readers perhaps? So after
I'm okay with that
after
either.
it's drafted, then you can be one of the first to see it and edit.
Okay, I'm also okay with that.
Yeah,
that
maybe
might work a little better for your schedule.
Perhaps
Maybe.
we may have one, Sarah in this case, and another person within the previous board group, so that the two ideas, one of a clear idea of the board structure and other stuff, and Sarah, they can work together, and then the critical readers, as we have Yes, and the people who said, for example, no, Rafael said me and Justin and Jocelyn as well. So I don't know, Catalina, you said nothing for the moment.
No, I will be happy to be a critical reader also, actually. Yeah, no, because also I actually thought of Chris because I knew that he had that experience of writing that document. So maybe that, I guess it's a very nice combination because Sarah has a very clear idea of the items, the structure, and Christopher has that experience. So I guess it's like a gold combination because both of them, I don't know, that's mainly the reason why I thought to propose them as a very nice couple to work on that.
Jocelyn?
For me, it would be nice if Christopher can share this document, maybe, so that I have an idea and maybe I can help me as well.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Just send me your email address on the WhatsApp so I can send it via email.
I'm not sure exactly what Matthias suggested. Maybe I got it wrong, but perhaps it would be good to have someone from the original C group working with Sarah. Is that what you said?
Yes, yes. Why?
Okay. So perhaps Jocelyn, or if I don't know.
Yeah, so someone from the previous board group, Jocelyn, of course, as I suggested, yes, because maybe she may have some clear ideas about what sociocracy or the board structure is, so that the outcome is closer to a board idea and a sociocratic idea than without a member from the previous board group. That's all.
Yeah, I was also thinking about it. Maybe there will probably have questions, so maybe it will be good to have a contact that I can go to and ask questions whenever there is, doubts.
So I wrote main responsible for the first draft, Sarah, Jocelyn as the C group consultant, and then Chris co-readers, Rafael, Seth, Mattia, Christopher, and Catalina. That's what I wrote in the chat.
Okay, I have a different proposal.
A contra proposal.
And it is basically
this is getting good.
Because I really like the way that we all work together in the board group, which it was one person basically wrote everything, and then then another person took their we all kind of look into it and we make changes. But if, like, let's say we form this group where we're all in there and then Sarah is the one that's writing it, put questions, whatever you have questions on. And I feel like, it will be, it's helpful, or at least it was helpful to me to understand all of the different points of views and how can we make them more concrete and how can we avoid going into different tangents.
Maybe we should let Sarah decide if that's the most effective way for her to work. And just go from there.
I just wrote there that I agree that it would be nice if Sarah could consult the whole group when she thinks that's a good idea. I think it's a good tool to use the whole group as,
Yeah, okay, so we could have a group where I could send in questions, and then anyone could answer and could give their opinion, so I can have a broader perspective, right?
Yeah, that's the group that we already have, isn't it? The movement for the restoration.
Good.
I think. Anyway, I also wanted to say that I found Jocelyn's presentation in the beginning very nice, beautiful, and professional. I just wanted to say that, and I completely forgot in the first moment. Thank you, Jocelyn, for that. So do we have decision and we know what to do, and is everything set and right and beautiful and happy?
Yeah. If, you people agree, can we have, as said before, two people, I mean another people working with Sarah together, doing the writing of this draft? um, Catalina, please.
Are you volunteering, Catalina?
No, I thought Mattia was volunteering. Charlie.
No, no.
Oh, sorry. Mattia was
Please.
No, go ahead, go ahead. You wanted to say something, sorry. I
No,
interrupted you.
yes. So we passed from one thing that was Sarah with Jocelyn, and then the group. Then Jocelyn proposed another thing, but Jocelyn, you tell me, your proposal was to work all together on that uh, on that draft. Sarah writes, and we all work together every time without, have a consultant, a specific consultant or something like that.
So my proposal was that Sarah is the first one to write the first draft, and then she has a group on WhatsApp of all of us where she can ask questions and she can get different types of inputs, so she can get a broader perspective of how to put the pieces together. Basically, I thought that was very helpful to me, at least. And from there, let's say that the first proposal is done, maybe someone else within that group wants to volunteer or wants to make changes, like we have done throughout, the board group. And so I feel like that will be helpful. It's a smaller group, but still there is a different perspectives that in my opinion, it's very important.
Okay. So what I wanted to say is different perspectives are okay, but at the same time, the the basic idea should be clear, and in order to prevent every kind of further misinterpretations, I think that there should be another person, in this case, as we said, Jocelyn, if she wants, to work together with Sarah.
Can I say something? Okay, yes, I guess in terms, as we have said, in terms of efficacy, efficiency, a smaller group of two persons will be the ideal. So I guess all of us agree that Sarah has that clarity, and that if herself she has said a person of the whole board, it will be a good will come with good inputs. So I guess if we have one more efficacy, maybe we can keep these two people, which maybe can be Sarah and Jocelyn. And of course, if during the way there are questions, we can all bring the questions to the board group and even to all of us. I mean, whatever doubt is there. But if we keep like the big group, that can take longer. Yeah, and anyway, at the end of the process, as all of us are proofreaders, it's going to be that part. So I guess maybe for efficacy purposes, it will be interesting to have you guys, Sarah and you, to be more like doing that job, taking finishing the draft, the first draft, and then I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I like that idea too. And maybe if we can add Rafael and said to the board group. So that way, if we have, and Sarah, if we have any questions, then we can just go there.
You mean to the WhatsApp group? Yeah, of course. Yeah, we can add.
I think depending on the need that Sarah feels, I think she could consult either the big group of the movement, the board group, or the group of critical readers, so she can, you know, see what feels better. And I'd like to nominate Christopher to write the minutes of this of this meeting, just to with a summary of what we have done and what we have decided.
Oh.
If Christopher is fine with that.
Can you send me the recording or the link in Facebook? I didn't take notes earlier, but I can.
Yeah, I think you can get a summarized version just to know what we decided. I think that's
okay.
Yeah, and I'll send you the link. Yeah.
Okay.
It's very difficult and rare to have the opportunity to go in a meeting like this one and get to the end and feel that things are going in a good direction. And I have this feeling now. I'm very happy for that.
Yeah,
Should we
you have to
go
look all the faces on the screen. Everyone is like.
It has taken us a year, guys. A whole year.
Should we then go towards the end of the session of this meeting? We had 1 hour and 20 minutes of meeting, a little bit more than we aimed to, but I think it was a very good job that we have done.
When are we gonna meet again?
That's a good point.
I'll put it on my calendar.
I think that's something else. I think as Sarah is responsible for writing the first draft, I think she can also realize that, oh, perhaps it would be better to have a nice or a meeting just to kind of exchange ideas and stuff, and she can present whatever is the topics that she thinks it needs to be discussed at that point. So I think that I think Sarah can kind of lead the process now, as she is the main responsible for the first draft. That's my view.
I can't, I can't go on with this idea because we are a group going on with a group, and so Rafael, it's totally opposite to what we have prayed until now, having one person. So please, can we do it as a group and not as a single person? It's nothing for Sarah or whatever. Just, come on. It's totally the opposite of
I think what Raphael is trying to say is that Sarah's writing it and we don't know her timeline of finishing it. So she would be best to decide, hey, I think I'll have something for you in 3 weeks, or however long it's going to be. It's not a matter of only one person at this point. I think it's just a matter of when Sarah's going to be finished.
Well, it doesn't have to be decided now. I guess we can just message on WhatsApp what's the best time. Sarah what Sarah suggests the next meeting should be, and then we can just talk it over there in WhatsApp.
Yeah, I guess while the work of Sarah and Jocelyn advance, they can tell us like a better date. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm also counting that Sarah is going to be something, it's very collective. I'm not saying that Sarah is the queen now. I'm just saying that, she has the task, so she can lead the process.
No, I guess it was a misunderstanding.
Why there's always someone who has to lead the process? This is, it's not because of Sarah, Rafael, or whatever. It's just,
Well, that's what task-oriented should be, isn't it? She is the responsible for the task now. That's the task.
We are all responsible for the task. She just took the charge to write the draft. I mean, it's okay.
So how would you prefer that we do that? What are you suggesting to be different?
As we said until now, Rafael. So Sarah and Jocelyn working together. We all, before the next meeting.
I guess
the draft, as we said. I mean, nothing different. Just ending with something that is totally opposite to what we have said. I don't know. I can't understand it.
No, but I guess well, actually any decision that we have taken, one person writes an idea, then the other person writes another idea. So basically, I guess as Sarah and Jocelyn are the ones who are taking care of this task, they can just propose when they know that, okay, maybe we will be ready for this date. So they will just propose, and the decision actually will be taken by all of us. So once Sarah and Jocelyn consider that it is a good date, they will propose, okay, guys, we will be ready by, let's say, 10 August, or any date that came to my mind. So we will say, okay, 10 August is right, or no, maybe let's give one more week because we need to read, or we haven't had time to read, because also we have to read that. I mean, we are the proofreaders, so it will be like a collective time that will have to be taken in consideration. So I guess basically in this case, they are just proposing the date according to the task duration that they are doing. So the process will continue being collective, I guess. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and obviously,
That's my understanding. Yeah.
If Sarah is taking a long time and we think, oh, it's too much time, we should have a meeting now, anybody can propose, and we will discuss collectively.
Yeah.
I don't
Maybe
see
we
where.
say,
What's
guys,
the point
you are
of
taking too much
deferring?
time. You want to have a meeting to accelerate it, whatever. Yeah. Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so by now there is no date that we are not setting up any date, and
Okay.
we will see the following weeks.
I have one question about the date, not the date itself, but like once Sarah and Jocelyn finish the process, we have said that will be a proofread, no? That date of the meeting, should the proofreaders also read the Constitution and have some comments? Or it's like only to see the first draft? I don't know, maybe also in terms of the efficacy, maybe by that time, if the proofreaders can read and make some comments, will be useful or not? What do you guys think? Hey, Rafa, unmute.
So I'm not sure I got your question.
Okay, we are saying we will have a date that mostly Sarah and Jocelyn will propose, because they are taking care of the big work of writing the Constitution. That date will be to read the draft that they are going to do, or by that date, the person or the big group that is going to proofread that Constitution should have already some comments ready. That is my question. Or that will be another step, because in terms of efficacy, I am thinking that it will be useful maybe to have already the proofread, so we can advance more. But I don't know how do you guys see it.
Well, my suggestion is that Sarah and Jocelyn write the first draft. They send the first draft to the critical readers. The critical readers read and give her feedback. And then she uses the feedback to have a new version, send back to the critical readers. And then after we have the cycles, we send to everyone the Constitution, and everyone has this chance to read in advance. And we also present in the meeting, and then we discuss with a bigger group, what's not consensus, and then we can check what we need to vote or whatever.
Okay, I guess basically Baby's suggestion is very, very similar. Yeah, that she has written in the group. Okay. Yeah, because if we have that in mind, also we can have in mind that maybe the date will be a little, I mean, we have to take more time to do all that. And that is another point that just came to my mind. Will we set during the process, not now because we don't know yet how will it be, but maybe during the process, do you think that will be useful to set any deadline, at least like a maximum deadline? I don't know if it is useful or not, or we decided it in the process. I mean, for the proofreading, once they are ready for the proofreading.
Maybe 3 months. Is that reasonable? I don't know. I'm just making that up.
You mean that all this process that writing the constitution, proofread, comments, etc., shouldn't take more than 3 months?
That's my first guess. Yeah.
I think no more than 3 months, but if they need that time, that's okay.
Yeah, and I also think that maybe we can have closed meetings, meaning that if there is an issue, we have questions, then again we can have a closed meeting, meaning that smaller group, not on YouTube, just to interchange ideas for the writing process.
Okay, so maybe as you guys feel that is needed, maybe you will propose to have kind of.
Yeah, I think it's a bit artificial to have a deadline at the end, but perhaps we could have some idea, like for instance, when you have a first draft, so the critical readers, please do the critical reading and give some feedback in, I don't know, 1 week time, or 10 days time, whatever. And then we try to keep pressure on each other so things keep moving. But hopefully less than 3 months.
Yeah, that's the max. But if we can do before, that will be great. Yes. Okay, great.
And based on previous experience working in this movement, normally Sarah's schedule is
she's very
a lot faster than everybody else's. So
she's like a flash.
I shouldn't give you that higher expectation.
I'm just being silly, Sarah. Sorry if I.
No, but I'll try to keep it in a good speed. Yeah. Okay. So I think the plan. We already have a plan. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Just send me the link and send me your email so I can send you the manual for our youth center. Thank you.
Yeah, I put it in the chat already.
Okay.
So should I end the recording and therefore the meeting?
Sure.
Hold on, let me copy her email first.
Have you found Chris, or I can copy paste again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just copy paste.
Okay.
Oh no, I can't. Let me just type it.
Rafael.
Okay. Oh, I guess baby is saying something.
Okay.
No, I
think I have it
think,
copied.
Yeah, just this one is another topic. Since we are going to 1 year and 1 year gathering of the young Theosophists, maybe we could have anniversary celebration. Yeah, why not?
I think the first panel was in September, wasn't?
Yeah, it was in September. Yeah.
Yes.
You have a good memory. I don't recall that anymore.
Yeah, September.
Yeah, we should have
September
a
21st, I guess, 20 and 21st, something like that.
Happily, we have YouTube records, so we can check.
Yeah, just.
So
that's a good point. I think.
We'll have a virtual party in September.
Yes, because we've been talking a lot, and why not we just have a simple gathering of just saying hi, hello to each other, yeah? just an idea.
Nice.
Because
I like the idea.
Nice.
Me too. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So one more duty for the board should be the in charge of parties and celebrations officer, please. That is a very important one.
Should I consider the meeting of the federation finished then and stop the recording? And
yes.
Well,